Hey everyone, Mitch coming in from the Commander Score studio. Welcome to the show. So, on today's episode, I've got the ultimate budget upgrade guide for you for a very exciting and very popular new commander. You might already have the Precon, or if not, you might be looking to get it. Let's jump into it. Temmet Noctamoon's Will. Let's quickly go over the commander because you've probably already seen this commander if you're really excited about it. Already have the Precon, obviously. And then we'll talk about the cards that you should most definitely be adding in. It is a 4/4 zombie wizard for 5 mana and Esper. Vigilance Menace whenever you attack. Draw a card, then discard a card. Most importantly, though, and this is massive, whenever you draw a card, zombies you control get ++1 until end of turn. That is huge. That is gigantic. That is, in some ways, absurd. This basically is a commander that says, you know what, let's turn something that we do really well in these colors into a game-ending thing. This is, hey, you know what, go wide with zombies and all of a sudden, yeah, cast a very simple draw spell and just decimate your opponents out of, well, either nowhere or even if they do see it coming, it does not matter. So we're going to be looking for a mass draw as well as mass zombies in a way too. So let's jump into those cards right now. And we're going to start things off with the artifacts, and of course, first up, there's Wayfarer's Bauble. Pay 2 tap, sacrifice, get a basic land into play tapped. It's just a very solid ramp spell. When it comes to Commander, land ramp is basically protected, and people don't really destroy lands ever, essentially. So, yeah, ramping in this way is great, and again, early on, it is good mana fixing too for you because you can have any kind of mana and you can go get the land that you need. And I guess I should mention that every single one of these upgrade cards is less than $1. So yes, very budget friendly. Yes, even for me as a budget player. Moving on, Midnight Clock. This is a mana rock that is not very efficient. That's okay though, because it makes up for that in just the pure potential of decimating your opponents. Tap for a blue, pay 2 and a blue, put an hour counter on it, and then at the beginning of each upkeep, you get an hour counter on it for free. Once that 12th hour counter is put on it, you shuffle your hand and graveyard in your library, draw 7 cards, and exile it. So here's the thing. If you don't time this correctly, that's okay. You still get to draw a bunch of cards. That's nice. Reset your hand. That being said, when you do time it correctly, and again, you definitely can, because you can actually pay to put hour counters on it, once you hit that 12th counter, essentially, you're going to be just massively pumping your team. So if you do this on your turn, your zombies get +7/+7 on top of the +1/+1, on top of the +1/+1 that your commander gives you as well because of the attack. So yeah, basically +9/+9 from all the cards drawn in that turn. You're gonna win. This is a mana rock that can just win you the game. Next up, though, an artifact that can also do the same. An artifact for 4, pay 4, tap, discard your hand, draw a card for each creature you control. Again, this is a strategy we're going to be going very wide with zombies. And yeah, there are plenty of ways to do that. This can benefit you so much by, well, resetting your hand in a way, probably drawing even more. And of course, on top of that, again, this can be at instant speed, or it just can be on your turn regardless. Your opponents can see it coming, but even if they don't, they probably should know it's there. But yeah, being able to just pay 4 mana to massively pump your team, again, essentially, if you've got, 10 zombies in play, this is +10/+10 on activation, which is just absolutely crazy on top of all the card advantage it's giving you. Next up, let's move on to creatures, and first up, there's Nightscape Familiar, a solid zombie to consider. A 1/1 zombie for 2 mana in black. Blue spells and red spells you cast cost 1 less. You can also regenerate this. So it is a zombie that can stick around. It's a zombie that's very low to the ground, and it gives you a lot of value throughout the game, depending on how many blue spells you end up in your deck, which you might have a decent amount of those. I mean, even your commander, of course, is a blue spell, so saving mana on that can be great as well. But yeah, again, when it comes to the name of the game for zombies, we want utility, and we want to go wide as well. And we, of course, want some other effects like, well, Diregraph Captain, a 2/2 zombie soldier with Death Touch for 3 mana in Esper. Other zombie creatures control ++1. Whenever their zombie you control dies, target opponent loses 1 life. So it's kind of like an Anthem zombie, a Lord zombie, that also is a little bit blood artisty too. So yeah, being able to drain your opponents out even faster with this can be quite nice. And you don't really need to drain your opponents, though, if you are, well, swinging evasively with a massive army. Geralf can help with that. A 1/4 Human Wizard for 3 mana. Now, you gotta be careful when you're like, okay, I'm including things that are not zombies sometimes. Just sometimes. But yeah, this is a great one to consider. Zombies you control have flying, pay a single blue mana, tap, sacrifice another non-token creature, make an XX zombie, for exit toughness. You're probably not going to activate that too often, but literally just giving your zombies flying can be a game-ending play for you, and having that flexibility can be nice too. So if you do have a good amount of non-token creatures that you want to get, into zombies instead of having their toughness, then you can utilize that. Next up, Zero Scorpion. Again, speaking of another Anthem type effect, a 1/1 zombie wizard for 3 mana. When it enters amass 1, zombie tokens you control have Death Touch. So the amass one is nice. We don't want to go too hard into amass because that builds up tall instead of wide when it comes to tokens. That being said, giving our zombie tokens Death Touch is massive, so no matter what we are attacking, or what is blocking, no matter what we are blocking essentially ourselves too, it's going to get taken out, and if we can get trample on them, which you probably really can't in these colors too much, but you can get through. Regardless, Death Touch is quite nice, and again, having 2 zombies for the price of 1 essentially, since that amassed 1 is a zombie army, that is absolutely huge. Ratadrabic, though, of Urborg is a great one too. A 3/3 zombie wizard for 4 mana in Orzhov, Vigilance Ward 2. Other zombies you control have Vigilance. If you just stop there, you'd probably still consider it absolutely. It also says that whenever another legendary creature control dies, create a token that's a copy of that creature, except to say not legendary, is a 2/2 black zombie, just other colors and types. This is great for, well, oh no, my commander got taken out. Okay. I get a second copy of it, basically. You just get to replace your commander for free with that. But again, more importantly, giving all your zombies Vigilance means you can be hyper aggressive, and being aggressive can be great with this deck. So being able to say, you know what, I'll swing out, and I'll keep them back for defense too. Thank you. And of course, your opponents kind of have to respect you blocking as well, since there's such things as instant speed draw. So yeah, your opponents are like, oh, it's just a bunch of 2/2s, but they're going to swing into a massive army that can take them out. Vengeful Dead, yet another great draining effect, a 3/2 zombie for 4 mana. Whenever it or another zombie dies, each opponent loses 1 life. Keep in mind, this does count your opponent's zombies as well, so yeah, just something to consider. But yeah, Overseer the Damned is a great one for us as well. 5/5 demon flying for 7 mana. It's a bit pricey, but what it does is huge. First up, ETB, destroy target creature. That's nice. Some removal there. More importantly, though, whenever a non-token creature an opponent controls dies, create a tap 2/2 black zombie creature token. Any non-token creatures they have that die, we are getting to build our army. And again, the name of the game is go wide and go tall with our commander. So yes, this can be absolutely huge for us. Next up, let's talk about some enchantments to consider as well. Ghoulish Procession, very budget friendly, just 8 cents. An enchantment for 2 mana. Whenever 1 or more non-token creatures die, create a 2/2 black zombie creature with Decayed. This ability triggers only once each turn. Now, this is quite a limited card. Again, they limited it twice. Again, 1 or more, and also triggers only once each turn. That being said, with each trip around the table, you've got the potential to make 4 zombie tokens. And yes, they have Decayed, yet another limitation. But still, even though, okay, you sacrifice it in the combat when it attacks, that's okay. And it can't block. That's okay. What we care about, again, with this deck is just going wide. We go super wide, and that's a great way to do so. And usually, we can just have 1 explosive turn where we draw an absurd amount of cards and swing through their army, and we just need 1 attack to take our opponents out or to decimate them to the point that we just win the game in the next turn or so. So it's a great enchantment. Again, low to the ground, just free zombie production, again, from any non-token creatures dying, not just our own. Moving on. Monastery Siege, very flexible, very good for us. Enchantment for 3 mana. Enters the battlefield, choose cons or dragons. We actually want to, actually make the decision kind of on the fly. It's not always one choice. Some sieges are, one choice all the time. At the beginning of your draw step, draw your card, then discard a card. So a great looting effect for us. Again, with this commander, that is just an additional ++1 on top of that. It's kind of like an Anthem in our deck too. On top of that, though, we could choose dragons. Spells your opponent's cast that target you or a permanent control cost 2 more to cast. Basically, ward 2 in a way, except for the ability. That being said, a great way to protect our things, especially our commander. So another one to consider. Next up, Phyrexian Arena, below $1 now with all of its reprints. Enchantment for 3 mana. Beginning of your upkeep, you draw a card and you lose 1 life. So being able to essentially, just get this in play. We lose some life, oh no, but repeatable card draw can be great, especially again when it's on our turn, because this again is basically an Anthem on top of card draw for us. Speaking of which, knowledge is power. 12 cents for this disgusting card that can just decimate your opponents. Enchant for 5 mana in Azorius. Creature control +X/+X for X number of cards you've drawn this turn. This is massive. This is huge. This basically doubles up our commander's effect, because now all of a sudden we're just, Yeah, I draw 5 cards with this spell or whatever it is. Oh, cool. Okay, another +5, +5, plus the card I draw on the turn, plus my commander's attack trigger, another +7, +7. So it's like +14, +14. This basically, again, just doubles up the mass pump effect that your commander has. So yeah, if you're going wide enough, you're going to win just by having this in play and having a simple draw spell, essentially. Necromancer's Covenant, a huge swingy card to consider as well. Enchant for 6 mana in Orzhov. When it comes into play, remove all creature cards in target player's graveyard from the game, and put a 2/2 black zombie creature token into play for each card moved this way. Zombies you control have lifelink. You can target anyone of this. You actually might even target yourself if you know you're looting a bunch, if you know you're wheeling a bunch, drawing, discarding a bunch. You might even target yourself. But essentially, this is a great way to make a massive army of zombies. And again, going wide is super good for you. On top of that, though, giving all your zombies lifelink permanently is huge. A great way to pad your life total, and one that you can pad your life total into an oblivion. Again, even if your zombies don't have any kind of evasion or way to get through, if you can just gain so much life on swing that you're like, okay, yeah, I hit whatever you blocked, cool, I just gained 150 life. You can solve for time, essentially, and just win the battle of attrition that you are creating. Thought Reflection is absolutely absurd as well. Enchant for 7 mana. Draw a card, draw 2 cards instead. Again, when it comes to like these high mana value cards, yeah, make sure your mana curve is still pretty good for your deck. Obviously, that being said, this card is a bomb in this deck. Doubling up every single one of your card draw, oh my goodness. I mean, even with nothing else, no other way to draw cards, okay? On your turn, you draw your card. Now you're drawing 2 cards instead. That's +2/+2 for you. Plus your commander's trigger. When you attack, it's 1 card extra. So obviously you're going to be doubling that up as well, and you're going to be at 4 cards drawn on the turn. So +4/+4 from not doing anything, from literally just drawing your regular card and attacking with your commander in play. Pumps your zombie army +4/+4. And of course, any kind of draw is going to be absolutely gross with this. So yeah, a massive card for you. Moving on to some instants. Now again, when it comes to instant speed cards that draws cards, they can basically be combat damage tricks. Your opponents are going to be in big trouble because it's going to be very difficult for them to block. Again, when you have like a draw spell like Occult Epiphany, and they don't know that necessarily, they might let some zombies through that they wouldn't have let through, and all of a sudden you can draw an absurd amount of cards. Instant for X and a blue, draw X cards, discard X cards, create a 1/1 white sphere creature token, flying for each card type, and 1 card discard this way. The spirits are nice. Like, it's nice that you just get like extra flyers, extra blockers. Sure, they're not zombies. That's okay. What we care about again is instant speed, basically mass pump your team. Just picture that X in there as just, oh, okay, it pumps your team +X/+X. So you're not going up in card advantage. You are getting some great card selection though. But again, it's just instant speed, combat trick against your opponents. Breathe the Runes, yet another great way to do that. Instant speed for X and a blue. Draw X cards for each card draw this way. Discard a card unless you sacrifice a permanent. Get a blended sacrifice. Tolarian wins. Discard your hand, then draw that many cards. Instant speed wheel. It is a self wheel, so your opponents aren't getting any, advantage out of that potentially. That being said, just being like, oh, okay, cool. Yeah, again, I've got 7 cards in my hand or whatnot, maybe even more because you've got so many ways to draw cards. A mass pump effect for just 2 mana, and a way to replace your hand when you don't need the cards in it. Brain Surge. Brainstorm, but in a bigger way, essentially. Instant for 3 mana. Draw 4 cards and put 2 cards in your hand on top of your library in any order. So again, you're going up 2 cards essentially at the end of the day. That being said, yeah, I mean, basically again, draw 4 for 3. That's quite nice and a great way to pump your team. Frantic Search, a free way to pump your team. Draw 2, discard 2, untap up to 3 lands. So yeah, you get that mana back. And if it's a bounce land, you get even more mana back. But that being said, it's basically a free +2/+2. Oblation, an absurdly good removal spell that I believe is very underrated. Instant speed for 3 mana and white. The owner of target non-land permanent shuffles it into the library, then draws 2 cards. This is such a flexible card. It is amazing. Yes, again, if your opponents have something absolutely massive in play, are you going to be like, you know what, it's worth giving that player 2 cards to get rid of that massive thing? And again, it basically permanently gets rid of it because it's going to shuffle it into their library, which good luck to them getting that back. And it gets around indestructible, regeneration, etc., etc. That being said, it's also flexible because you can target your own permanent as well. And this can be a great way to say, oh yeah, just a combat damage trick for me. Hey, I'll draw 2. Oh, my team gets +2/+2. Goodbye. So again, removal spell can be game ending for you too. Next up, Ancient Excavation, instant speed for 4 mana. It's also got basic land cycling though, so it is very flexible for 2 mana. Early on, it's a great option for that. Draw cards, deal the number of cards in your hand, then discard a card for each card drawn this way. Again, a way to just double up your hand size temporarily. Get rid of the cards you don't need, but also, again, if you've got 7 cards in your hand, you're casting this, I guess you go down to 6 technically when you're casting it, right? But then, okay, cool, I draw an extra 6 cards. Good for me. +6/+6. Sign me up for that. Emergency Power is yet another great way to essentially wheel. Instant for 7 mana. Each player shovels their hand and graveyard into the library, then draws 7 cards. Exile it. So yeah, a way to reset things and a way to draw 7, again, instant speed out of nowhere. That being said, if you cast during your main phase, you can also cheat something into play. A permanent card with mana cost 7 or less in your hand right onto the battlefield. So that can be quite nice too. And finally, Commit to Memory. Commit is a great defensive spell. Instant for 4 mana. Put target spell or non-land permanent into his owner's library, second from the top. So temporarily get rid of something. That being said, Memory, Aftermath, you can play from the graveyard. Each player shuffles their hand and graveyard in a library, then draws 7 cards. This is a card that you might even just discard with one of your looting effects, so you can just get rid of Memory and just utilize that essentially. But yeah, yet another wheel effect. Wheels, of course, can be great because, yeah, it's just a giant +7/+7 to your entire team, which again can be so game-ending for you. When it comes to sorceries, let's talk about simple and effective. Night's Whisper, very simple, very effective. 2 mana, draw 2, lose 2. Yeah, 1 life for 1 card is going to be well worth it any day of the week in a game of Commander. If you got 40 life, use it, right? That being said, again, yeah, draw 2. Great, okay. Oh, also, +2/+2 for just 2 mana? Absolutely for your entire team. Painful Truce, 1 step further than that. You're in a 3-color deck. So yeah, put all 3 colors into this, essentially. Draw 3, lose 3. Massive pump effect for your team. Distant Melody, game-ending card. Sorcery for 4 mana. Choose a creature type, draw a card for each permanent you control that type. Again, you're going to be going wide with zombies. This is just, how many zombies do you have in play? Draw that many and give them all +1/+1 for each zombie in play. Again, so game-ending. Whispering Madness can actually take advantage of your opponent's hands too. Sorcery for 4 mana. Each player discards their hand, then draws cards, equal the greatest number of cards a player discarded. This way you can also cipher it onto a creature to actually cast this multiple times. That being said, what really matters here again is, hey, you know what? Let's draw up, essentially. Let's all wheel, and I'm going to be pumping my team a ton for just 4 mana. Step Between Worlds, you can actually plot this out, which is great, so you can cast it later just for free. Absolutely huge. Each player may shuffle their hand and graveyard into the library. Each player who does draw 7 cards, exile Step Between Worlds. This is a wheel effect that is optional for your opponents, essentially. I mean, I guess it's technically optional for you as well, but you're going to be doing it. So yeah, again, basically, a wheel that you can invest to and get a free wheel later on for a massive turn for you. Inspiring Refrain, speaking of free, suspend it for 3 mana. It's got to spend 3. Then when you actually cast it, again, every 3 turns, you draw 2 cards and you exile 3 time counters on it. So you keep drawing 2 cards every 3 turns. This is a free pump effect for you every couple of turns, and also free draw. Necrotic Hex, a great removal spell. Again, you're going to be going so wide, that's okay. It gets replaced. Sorcery for 7 mana. Each player sacrifices 6 creatures. You create 6 tap 2/2 black zombie creature tokens. 6 is going to be enough most of the time to take out all of your opponent's creatures. Again, 6 each. So that's like 18 creatures your opponents have. They're going to be sacrificed if they even have anywhere near that many. That being said, you get 6 tap 2/2 zombies, which you probably just sacrificed 6 zombies. So yes, this is a way to just wipe out your opponent's boards, replace some of yours with basically the exact same thing, and all of a sudden say, oh, you're wide open, aren't you? Because you don't need blockers anymore. Cool, I'm coming after you now. Speaking of coming after you though, Army of the Damned, again, already a game-ending card, but especially with this commander, create 13 tap 2/2 black zombie creature tokens, and you can flash it back as well. So yeah, again, if you've got 13 zombies in play, you're gonna be winning the game just with a simple pump effect, with a simple draw spell, and your commander. Treasure Cruise is one of those, and a great one at that. A source for 8 mana in total, but you'll never pay that. Delve away cards out of your graveyard, draw 3 cards. You're basically just pay a single mana to draw 3 cards. Again, a massive pump effect for you. Finally, when it comes to a land to consider as an upgrade, a great one that got a reprint last year, which is, well, dropped its price a ton. Cephalid Coliseum, a land that can tap for a blue, but it deals 1 damage to you. Oh no! Yeah, 40 life. You got plenty of life. You're fine. Threshold, though, pay a single blue mana tap, sacrifice it, target player draws 3, then discards 3 cards, activate, only have 7 more cards in your graveyard. Yeah, getting Threshold can be quite easy in a deck. We're going to be drawing a ton of cards, using a lot of loot effect, a lot of wheel effects where you just draw and discard. So you get a lot of cards in your discard pile, and all of a sudden this can be a land that you can pay a single mana into to tap and sacrifice it to draw 3. Yeah, you discard 3, that's okay. You're gonna get some great card selection. But most importantly, again, just keep in mind this is an instant speed +3/+3 off of a land that your opponents are most definitely going to forget is there. So, yeah, this can be I swing through, and your opponent's like, okay, I let these zombies through, and you're like, all right, you're gone. What? Yeah, I sacrificed my land. You're gone. What? Yeah, so this is definitely what can happen. Even if they know that it's there, even if they notice that it's there, you're not trying to trick them, I'm saying. I'm not trying to say, like, hide the land. I'm trying to say that they'll forget it's there. Even if they know it's there and they know that you got that option, it doesn't matter. It's a mass pump effect for you as well. So, yeah, some great cards that you can choose from that you can add. But what are we going to be taking out? Okay, so first up, some considerations for taking out cards. Well, Commander Sphere is one that I usually have on this list. It is one that is a bit more questionable in this aspect, though, because it is an artifact for 3, tap for 1 mana of any color. You can sacrifice to draw a card. This is an inefficient mana rock. It definitely is. Again, 3 mana, tap for 1. That is inefficient. And of course, we're okay with some inefficiencies. Does that sacrifice and draw a card make up for it? With this deck, maybe, but it's very close. I would still take it out. Again, like sacrifice, okay, pump my team 1, great. But I'd rather invest more in cards that are more efficient for mana rocks, or ones that, again, like Clock of Omens, which is like, oh, okay, cool, yeah, or Midnight Clock, which is like, okay, cool, that can be like a +7/+7 instead of a +1/+1. So I'd rather have that level of inefficiency, but the giant payoff versus inefficiency and a small payoff. So keep that in mind. Next up, Gate to the Afterlife, an artifact for 3. Non-token creature control dies, you gain 1 life, then you may draw a card. If you do, discard a card. Pay 2 depth, sacrifice it, go get basically God Pharaoh's Gift put into play, put on the battlefield. If you search life this way, shuffle it, activate on for there, 6 or more creature cards in your graveyard. There's a lot going on with this, yes. That being said, typically you're going to be trying to go super wide with a lot of token creatures, so you're not getting any value out of those non-token creatures or those token creatures dying. So essentially, you're only getting benefit off the non-token creatures dying, and you're typically not like, okay, I sacrificed them before my combat to get that +1/+1. The looting is nice, but you're not getting any value out of it when you typically would want to, essentially, with this. And you might see another card that's mentioned here later, which is God Pharaoh's Gift. Yeah, God Pharaoh's Gift, I wouldn't be focusing super hard on utilizing a card like this, an artifact for 7. At the beginning of combat on your turn, you may exile a creature card from your graveyard. If you do, create tokens, copy of it, except it's a 4/4 zombie. It gains haste until end turn. Again, we want to go wide very quickly. We want to utilize a lot of really good effects for that. This is a lot slower. This can utilize, oh yeah, some absolutely massive creatures, which, you know, maybe in a future episode I'll talk about this with another commander, but this is not really what this deck is trying to do. We'd rather go wide with a bunch of just 2/2s versus like, okay, slowly make some 4/4s that have a couple cool abilities, but like, we'd rather go wide. And there's bigger, heavier hitters, you know, again, 6/7 mana, which we talked about earlier. Next up, though, Nazgul Nexus, let's take that out as well. Artifact for 4. I love this card, but it's not for this deck, in my opinion. Creatures you control are every creature type. The same is true for creature spells you control and creature cards you own that are on the battlefield. Pay 3, tap, create a 2/2 black, 2/2 blue, shapeshifter creature with changeling. That is an inefficient way to make 2/2s, essentially, for the most part, number 1. Number 2, obviously, yeah, it's nice that like you turn every single creature you have into a zombie, but how many non-zombies are you utilizing in your deck, number 1? And is it really that worth it for a 4 mana, like, oh, sometimes it makes something into a zombie and then that gets a benefit? I would say no. Moving on, speaking of a zombie, though, we're going to be taking out Lazarus Chancellor, a 1/3 zombie wizard for 2 mana in Dimir. When you discard a card, you may pay 1. If you do, amass 2. Now, we already talked about amass earlier with another card. And the first amass is good. Yes. Again, you're making a zombie army. The problem is, anytime you discard a card, if you already have a zombie army in play and you pay your 1, you're just stacking counters on that one zombie. You're not going wide, you're going tall. And just making a, oh, okay, cool, like bland zombie that's got a bunch of counters on it that we can already pump does not matter at all, essentially. So this isn't a way to go wide, it's just a way to go tall. And because of that, it's not all that great. Next up, Champion of Wits, a 2/1 Naga Wizard for 3 mana. Enters the battlefield. You may draw cards equal to its power. If you do, discard 2 cards. You can also eternalize it for 7. The problem with like these eternalized cards is like, okay, like just as a 2/1 when you play it for 3, cool, okay, I get to draw a discard, nice. That's not bad, obviously. Like, we got better ways to draw cards more effectively, more efficiently, and it's not a zombie right away. For it to be a zombie, you really need to utilize out of your graveyard, which is very, very expensive to do. A little bit more of a benefit, obviously, but still, like, yeah, it's like a lot going on to actually get it going, and there's just more effective, again, actual zombies out there, and actually more effective, yeah, draw spells as well. Flashbang Marauder, just not as efficient as we'd want it to be. I mean, compared to like some other removal we already talked about. And most of the time, we're just going to be sacrificing either it or a 2/2, and yeah, it's not bad, but there are better ways to do it. A 3/1 Zombie Warrior for 3 mana. Enters the battlefield, just play sacrifice a creature. It's something that we can cut. We've got better removal out there. Murderous Rider, a 2/1 zombie knight with lifelink for 3 mana in black. When it dies, put on the bottom of its owner's library. That's not the best thing for us, really, at all. And then also Swift End, we can pay 3 mana, destroy target creature or planeswalker, you lose 2 life. It is removal. It is a zombie, but again, like, it is just trying to like thread a needle a bit too thin. It's not really good at either of those things, so let's just focus on some better removal, and let's focus on some better zombies out there too. Corpse Augur. 4/2 zombie wizard for 4 mana. When it dies, you draw X cards, lose X life, or X the number of creature cards in target player's graveyard. This is a card that is better suited in decks that can actually sacrifice it whenever they want. Again, like aristocrat style decks that can sacrifice it, you know, just out of whim because they got a Sorcery in play. We don't have that with this deck typically. We are not going to be utilizing just like, oh yeah, get rid of my own creature. When you want to pump your zombies, this isn't going to help you most likely. It's not going to be like, okay, on my turn, before I attack, how do I get rid of you? How do I take you out so I can actually draw a bunch of cards? Like, the drawing aspect is nice. The fact that it's a zombie is nice, but it doesn't do it when you need it. Vizier Many Faces, again, with the embalming, with the Eternalize, it's just a lot going on to do. 0/0 for 4 mana. It's basically a clone. You can also embalm it as a clone. We've got better, more efficient cards out there. It's not bad, but it is one that I would consider cutting. Next up, Angel of Sanctions, a 3/4 Angel of Flying for 5 mana. Again, embalm. It's kind of like the whole, like, okay, eventually it's a zombie. Eventually this will help, but not right now. Enters the battlefield, exile target non-land opponent controls until it leaves the battlefield. It's temporary removal. It is not permanent removal. We've got better removal. We've got better zombies. Let's skip this. Timeless Dragon, 5/5 dragon with flying for 5 mana in white. Plane cycling for 2. You can also eternalize it. Again, same thing with all the eternalized, you know, embalming creatures. It's like, okay, eventually it's going to help me, but I need to actually make it become a zombie in a very long, convoluted process to do so. Obviously, plane cycling is nice as a way to get in the graveyard too. It's still a lot going on for like not that big of a payoff. It's like, okay, I made a 4/4 flying zombie. Cool, good for me. That cost a lot of mana to do that. There's better things out there. Twisted Abomination. This one I really don't understand. 5/3 zombie mutant for 6 mana. Pay a single black mana, regenerate it. Swamp cycling for 2. Like, yeah, swamp cycling is nice. It's nice and flexible, but like, do you really care about having a 5/3 zombie mutant for 6 mana for that you can regenerate for a single black? If you do, like, you're paying way too much for that. There's a lot better cards out there. There's a lot better cards out there than this one. Next up, Dreadhorde Evasion. Already talked about why amassing is really nice for like an aristocrat style deck, but not for a go wide strategy like this one. Enchant for 2 mana in black. At the beginning of your upkeep, you lose 1 life and amass 1. Whenever a zombie token you control attacks with power 6 or greater, gains lifelink. That could be the reason. If you really care about that lifelink, yes, you can definitely consider it with that, because again, your zombies are going to be power 6 or greater with the zombie tokens, I should say specifically. But obviously, again, with that amassing, it's just you're going tall, not wide. And it's the exact opposite of what you want to do. You are, again, just, okay, I'm going up. Okay, I got more zombies. If it ever gets taken out, cool, it replaces, sure. But, like, this is not Bitter Blossom. It is in Bitter Blossom for decks that are, like, aristocrat style that can sacrifice them on a whim. But, again, we don't have that, and we don't need that. So, yeah, this is more so just a card that, okay, do I care about giving my zombies lifelink sometimes? Maybe? Okay. Cast Out. This one, I can see what you're doing with it, but like, not really all that great with this. Chant for 4 mana, flash, enters exile until an opponent, exile target non-land opponent controls until it leaves the battlefield. You can cycle it away. It's flexible and you can cycle it away, but like not all that great. Like, sure, okay, a little +1/+1, that's nice, but I'd rather have more efficient removal. I'd rather have removal that is just better. I'd rather have more efficient draw and more efficient removal separate than just trying to shove them both into the same thing when it's not working all that great. Commence the end game, an instant that we're going to be taking out as well. Instant speed for 6 mana, can't be countered. Draw 2, amass X, or X number of cards in your hand. Again, amassing is just not all that good for the most part. It's going tall versus wide, and we really don't care about that. Like, even if I made a 7/7 zombie, woohoo, I did it, great. Does it matter all that much? No, like a 2/2 is nearly the exact same thing with this deck because we're just going to be drawing an absurd amount of cards, so it's going to be getting pumped. So, like, I'd rather have a lower to the ground way to draw more cards or a lower to the ground way to make more zombies. And trying to combine them into one is just not all that great. Never Return, yet another card I'd be taking out as well. Destroy target creature or planeswalker, or Aftermath of the turn. Exile target card from a graveyard. Create 2 black exile creature token. Again, a lot of mana to do, not a lot. Not very efficient at removal, not very efficient at making a token. It's just a lot of work to not do a lot of things. So again, these would be the cards I would consider taking out. And if you are interested in any of the cards to add in, make sure you check out that link in the description below. And with that, this episode is coming to a close. As always, comment below with your thoughts on it. And of course, as always, thanks again and have a good one. This show and episodes like this one are possible thanks to viewers like you. If you're looking for an easy way to help support this show, make sure that you like, share, and subscribe. Also, hit that bell notification icon so you don't miss any new episodes. You can also go check out our playmats and other merchandise at thecommandersquarters.com. Another easy way to support this show is with our TCG player affiliate links. So whether you're buying a deck or individual cards, you can use this general link right here or one in the description. And the final way that you can support this show is by supporting us directly by becoming a patron. There are many benefits to being a patron, and I truly couldn't do this without all their support.